Hi students, how are you? I hope each one among you are doing great and well. Welcome to Supnit's classes. This is Rahmat Latif, your biology educator. In this video, we are going to learn pollination. How does pollination took place? What is pollination? What are types of pollination? What are agents of pollination? So without wasting any time, let's get started. First of all, try to understand pollination simply means transfer of pollen grains, obviously that are formed in anther, right? Transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma of the flower. Okay, female reproductive structure to stigma of the female reproductive structure. And this is pollination, okay? Pollination simply means transfer of pollen grains that are shed from anther to the stigma of the flower or stigma of the female reproductive structure. Okay, this is pollination. This is simply pollination, transfer of pollen grain from anther of the male reproductive structure to the stigma of the female reproductive structure in the flower. Okay, now we have some kinds of pollination. How does pollination occur? Okay, I'll write it down. Let me write it down. Types of pollination. First type is autogamy. Okay, autogamy simply means transfer of pollen grain from the anther to the stigma of the same flower. That means flower is same. Okay, flower is same and it's having both male reproductive structure and female reproductive structure. Stamen and carpel. And pollens are shed from anther to the stigma of the same flower. This is autogamy. That means pollination took place in the same, flower. This is autogamy. Okay. And what happens in autogamy? Self-fertilization occurs in autogamy. Okay. Self-fertilization occurs in autogamy. I hope this concept of autogamy is clear. This is too easy. Autogamy simply means when transfer of pollen from anther to the stigma of the female reproductive structure in the same flower took place. That is known as autogamy. And what happens in autogamy? Self-fertilization occurs. Okay. We have two types of flowers in autogamy. First one is chasmogamous, which means wide and open. These are those flowers which are wide and open. Wide and open. And in this type of flower, pollination may occur, right? Either self-fertilization could occur or cross-pollination. Like pollen grains from another flower may also come and got stick with the stigma of the that flower. And what would happen to this? Obviously, pollen from the same flower, from the anther of the same flower, come in contact with the stigma, and fertilization or pollination may occur. That's cosmogamous, wide and open. Okay. And then we have some flowers known as clistogamous flowers. Clistogamous flowers. Clistogamous flowers are those flowers, which are holded together like this fist. When the fist is like this means cosmogamous. It's wide and open. Once I bind it like this, hold it like this will become clistogamous flower. It means it has no contact with outside environment. It is closed. This is closed flower. Okay. And what will happen to this? Only and only self fertilization will occur. And if question will be asked, in which type of flower assured seed set will be formed, that is clistogamous flowers. In clistogamous flowers, assured seed set will be formed. How they will be formed? How assured seed set will be formed? Because there is no chance of another pollen coming in contact with clistogamous, so it has no other option. It has to pollinate with its own stigma, so they will definitely produce seed set. Okay, I hope this concept of chasmogamous and clistogamous flowers is clear, right? An example of these flowers is, you will remember the example by COV, cow, okay? Or you can say cow. But you don't have to write W, you have to write V. Instead of W, you have to write V. How will you remember? COV. It's common pansy, it's oxalis, it's viola. They produce two types of flowers, chasmogamous and clistogamous flowers, okay? I hope this concept of what we call it as orthogamy is clear. Now we will move towards geitonogamy. Okay, orthogamy. What happened in orthogamy? Same flower having both male reproductive structure and female reproductive structure, and pollination occurred there. See what happens in geitonogamy. Say for example, this is some plant. Okay, here it has one flower containing only stamen, and this is having another flower which is containing female reproductive structure. Okay, that means flower is same. Genetically it's like, please, this is important point, remember, genetically it's similar to orthogamy. Okay, but functionally it's cross pollination, right? Functionally it is cross pollination. Cross pollination. Pollen will be shed from here and it will get deposit here on the stigma. Okay, and pollination will occur. After this, fertilization would take place. Genetically it's similar to orthogamy, but functionally it's cross pollination. Please remember this. Okay, so they also produce same type of flowers, again same type of offsprings, because genetically it's similar, right? Male and female reproductive structure are of the same plant. They are in orthogamy, they are deposited in the same flower. That means we won't found any kind of variation, that much variation in their offspring. Okay, this was about geitonogamy. Genetically, it is similar to orthogamy, but functionally, it's cross pollination because it has to travel from one flower to the another flower. I hope this concept of geitonogamy is also clear. Now we have xenogamy. Okay, xenogamy. Another name of xenogamy is allogamy. Another name of xenogamy is allogamy. And what do it mean? It means transfer of pollen grains from one plant to another, of flower from one plant to another female flower. Okay, here you will see the definition: transfer of pollen grain from anther to the stigma of a different plant. Okay, and this is the, obviously we saw orthogamy, geitonogamy, they won't produce, they didn't produce any very varied offspring. So what would happen in xenogamy? It involves two plants, two different plants. So it's the only type of pollination which during pollination brings genetically different type of pollen grains to the stigma. Okay, I hope this concept of xenogamy is also clear. Right? We are done with orthogamy, we are done with geitonogamy, we are done with xenogamy. Now we have agents of pollination. Since it's external medium, like uh, in humans, what happens? Insemination happens, right? Male external genitalia inseminates inside the female external genitalia, thus baby or thus we can say fertilization occurs, and after that zygote is formed. But here the case is totally different, right? We will see agents of pollination. In pollination we have some agents, right? We have abiotic agents and biotic agents. Okay, in abiotic we have wind and water. In biotic we have insects, animals. Okay, we have insects, we have animals, we have birds or larger animals like lemurs and all. But if I will tell you, we have two factors, abiotic and biotic pollinators, but mostly plants prefer biotic factors rather than abiotic factors. Okay, and if I will talk about abiotic, in biotic they prefer usually honeybees. Okay, insects, honeybees. In abiotic they prefer usually wind over water. Please remember this. If we will compare abiotic and biotic factors, plants will prefer to get pollinated by biotic factors, not by abiotic factors. But when it comes to abiotic factors, they will prefer wind over water. Okay, I hope this concept is clear. Let's move forward. And as we already know that pollens, number of pollens are produced very high rather than the number of ovules present in a flower. Same, it's just the same case as in humans, as in animals. Male gametes, that is sperms, are produced higher than the number of ovums present inside the female. Okay, I hope this concept is clear, right? As I already mentioned, pollination by wind is very common. Okay, and mostly your NCRT just framed an important line, that is wind pollination is more common in grasses. Okay, wind pollination is more common in grasses. Okay, I hope this concept is clear. And if we will talk about pollination by water, that's done by, least number of genera. Pollination by water is done by only 30 genera. Okay, and they too are monocots. They too are monocots, not dicots. Pollination by water is very rare. It's done only by 30 genera, and that too monocotyledons. Okay, and what happens in aquatic plants? Obviously, pollens are, they are spread through, they are just transported through water. Water pollens, I'll tell you the speciality of different pollens. Okay, pollens produced by water, wind, and biotic factors. Okay, biotic animals. What will happen in water? They need to be covered in order to protect from being wet. They have a covering known as mucilaginous covering. Okay, mucilaginous covering. In wind, what will happen in wind pollination? What will happen in wind pollination? Just what we have to do, we have the number of pollens produced are very high, number of pollens produced are very high. Exposed anthers, and stamens, and long sticky stamens. Okay, sticky stamens, in order to catch the pollens. In biotic factors, flowers have to be bright in color. Okay, they have to be bright in color, they have to be large in number, they have to produce good order. Okay, they have to produce good order, and they have to produce nectar to the animals. Okay, to the living organisms which will do what we call it as pollination. Okay, I hope this concept of pollens is clear, what how which type of pollens we should have in different kind of mediums. Okay, water, wind and biotic factors. But here we have in biotic we have one exception, uh, flowers which are pollinated by beetles and flies. Those flowers produce bad odor, okay, in order to attract beetles and flies. Otherwise all the insects, all the birds, all the animals which do pollination, they are attracted by the flowers through their good odor, not bad odor. Okay, it's the exception of beetles and flies. I hope this concept is clear. Okay, wind pollination, water pollination. Water pollination is done by Water pollination is done by whom? Water pollination is done by water lily, okay, water hyacinth. They are in, they are present in water, and they just, what they do, they just undergo water pollination. Okay, I just wrote it here. Hmm. Sorry. Water lily and water hyacinth, their pollination is done by either wind or water. Okay, and if we will talk about wind pollination, that is done in Vallisneria, Hydrilla, and sea grasses. Okay, that is Zostera. I hope this concept is clear. And in Zostera, how these pollens are formed, in which shape they have, like this ribbon shaped, so that they can easily trap the grass. Okay, and they are, inside the water, so they are covered by which covering? Mucilaginous covering. I hope this concept is clear, right? And as I already mentioned, that majority of the flowering plants, they use animals for pollinating agents, like bees, like butterflies, like beetles, like wasps, like ants, moths, birds, hummingbirds, bats, or we have larger animals like lemurs, lizards, right? They are, as I already mentioned, what are their speciality? They flowers might be, should be necessarily bright, they should secrete good odor. Except for beetles and flies, flowers have to produce foul odor in order to attract them. Okay, and they have to produce nectar necessarily. Okay, and pollens, as we already know, so that when when biotic factors from biotic pollinators from one flower to move to another flower, they will do pollination, because they will have pollens over their body, and they will come in contact with the female reproductive structure, that is part of female reproductive structure, that is stigma, right? I hope this concept is clear. And as I already mentioned, they don't do this for free, they just get reward for this, and the reward is in the form of pollens, in the form of nectar. Okay, in the form of pollens, in the form of nectars, or in some species, in some species they just produce babies, their offsprings, their eggs inside the flower. Okay, inside the flower, pollinators just lay their eggs inside the flower, and they just get nourishment from the developing ovules in the flower. And once the flower is fully matured, and the uh, eggs of the pollinators get, fully ripened, they are fully, fertilized now, they are fully developed now, they will produce babies, they will get escape, and flower will get converted to fruit. Okay, I hope this concept is clear, right? But in some cases you will see that, in some cases you will see that uh, in some cases you will see that pollens and nectar, they are consumed by pollinators only, they are only consumed by pollinators, but like they don't do pollination and all. Okay, they are very, They are very dangerous. Why they are dangerous? Because they don't do the work, their actual work. They just consume pollen, they just consume nectar from the flower. They don't bring about pollination. That's why they are known as pollen and nectar robbers. Okay, pollen and nectar robbers. I hope this concept of pollination is clear. This is too simple, right? I hope this concept is clear. We will meet in such any other such session. Till then, goodbye, take care. Thank you. Thank you so much.